Hi, this is Digital Lady Sid, and this week I did a review basically of the Aurora HDR effects from Skylum or the old McFum, and I had never used this HDR program before, and they've updated it for 2018. So I know a lot of people out there have been talking about it. I'm doing this in Windows, and I thought I'd just do a quick little video here, and you can check out my blog for a little bit more information. So this is the image as it came in as a NEF file, camera raw file. Only one. This is why I like this software, because you can actually do pretty good results when you just have one image. You don't have to bracket and everything and still get some fabulous results. In this image right here, I cropped it down before right after I started the program. So we're going to start with that. Otherwise, no other changes. As you can see, the interface over here on the right is pretty extensive. If you look at the HDR basic image, section, filter section, it looks very similar to the basic panel in Lightroom. So you could tell this is going to be a very similar adjustments that you're going to make in here, except for this little HDR enhance. I talked about that in my blog, and look what this does immediately to this image. It just sort of pops it out. So this is where we're going to go with that. The other thing I really like is this smart tone slider. If you make it darker, it makes the darks dark, but if you lighten it up, it'll take your shadows and lighten up all your darks, but it doesn't affect your lights at all. So I find this really a nice slider to have. In this one, I'm just going to lighten up the darks a little bit. And then it seems like most people are then adjusting the shadows back down a little just to get this corrected. So that's what I do. It seems to work really nice, and I get nice results. Okay, next thing, add a little vibrance to the image. This is just pretty typical Lightroom stuff here. The structure is the other part that makes this an HDR program. This right here, if you take this HDR structure amount and go way over, you can get that real over the top HDR look that we've all seen and probably created accidentally in our early days of doing HDR. There we go. And softness and boost, I took the boost down a little bit. I really wanted this to look kind of more natural since it's flowers. I added some denoise into this. I'm on the fence a little bit about their denoise, but if you just have a little bit in there, this denoise works quite effectively. The one thing that I really like is the image radiance here, and all I did was pop this over, and it makes flowers particularly look really good. So if you put that over, watch this, you can see the difference that made right there. It just really softened down the flowers and looks great. Then I don't do anything until I get down to glow, and a lot of people like to put the glow on flowers, but it doesn't work on all photos. I've found you have to really play around with this to get this just the way you want it. And I reduced the brightness on this to get this just right, and added a little warmth into these flowers. Not much, but a little bit there. Okay, then the next thing I really like is the top and bottom tuning, which is really the neutral, graduated neutral filter here. And it works just like the one that's in Lightroom pretty much, but you have these sliders here and you can adjust the top. So I made the top a little bit darker because I wanted to drive the eye down a little bit. And I put a little contrast in there, it looks like here. That looks a little better. And warm it up still. Keep that a little bit warm. And then I worked on the bottom part, and I didn't do, well, I did put it down quite a bit on this, I believe. Yeah, just to, again, it almost gives it a vignette feel to it. The contrast is down a little bit, or up a little on this. Whoops, up. And my vibrance is up. And obviously you just kind of play with these until you get a result you like. Then the HSL, I use this one a lot, and I see big differences when I when I do changes in it, even though it's very similar to one that's in Lightroom again, or ACR. I'm saying Lightroom because that's what I use, but let's see, I want to add a little bit of color back into that. I didn't want to go that way. And I like to bring the orange out a little bit, and the yellows here. And just by doing that, watch the difference that made. It's very subtle, but once again, you can see it. The next thing I did was dodge and burn, which is apparently new to this program. If you go up here, I set it to 50% strength, and I want to darken it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to darken the dark areas back here. I just kind of wanted to get rid of that kind of muddy look back there, and just almost vignettes it across the back here even a little. I just like that, and I'll just darken down here a little even. Just don't need much there. I didn't like that. Anyway, okay, and then we're going to do the vignette. And I think their vignette's actually pretty nice. Make that quite dark around the edges there. And we've got a size. I put a size of 20. You just have to play with these and see what you like. They have a placement thing in the Mac one, which they don't. You can't set it to the center in this one yet. There's a lot of little detail things like that. Like in the top and bottom tuning, they've got this really nice little thing that you can make it as blurry as you want, or I mean, you can blend it as large as you want or small. We don't have that tool yet in the Windows version, but I'm under the assumption that they're coming out with all of that. But what I like about this vignette is that you can go down here to the inner brightness and watch how that pops those flowers back, and I just really like the results of that. So just to show you, this is what it looked like to begin with, or this way. Well, or not. Okay, there it is. It's not gonna. Yeah. As I said, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't on some of these things. But overall, I'm very happy with the results. This is in the standalone version, but it'll do the same thing in the plugin in Photoshop, which I would have done, but because my computer is a little bit sensitive to all these things running at once, I just did it in the standalone. I'll take the TIFF into Photoshop, clean up the flowers a little bit, probably add a contrast curve on it, do some things that I like to do in Photoshop to really finish up the picture. But overall, I think the results are really good. So give it a try if you get a chance, and check out my blog. It's at sydspix, sydspix.wordpress.com, or my tidbits blog, which is just fun things, is at digitalladysid.com, and the links will be below. And you know, give this a download a try and see what you think. I'm actually really surprised at how good this HDR software is working on all my images. So see you next week. Bye.